Welcome, everybody, to A Perfect Waste of Time, the monthly podcast episode thingy, casting for two production. And this is the podcast where there's zero guests. No guests whatsoever on this podcast. There's only friends. And our friend today is the wonderful, the amazing Maggie Compernolle. Yes, I did it. Hi, Maggie. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. How are you? I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
I thank you. I'm doing great now that I'm talking to you. So, sidebar to the listeners, we did have like a whole chat before, and I'm just so excited to be chatting with you because I think you're great, but I also think I love um the how do I say this? The area of expertise that you are in. I love that, and I think it's important. And normally on this podcast, I like to generate a random topic or subject or question to talk about. But I said I'm not going to do that this month because I want to talk about death because I feel like it's still very taboo, and yeah, and I love that you're somebody who actively talks about it, not in a negative way, but as in a progression in life. And I think that is just it is like we're all working towards that. Um, I don't know, finish line. I guess I don't know what to call it, but yeah, it's something we all share, and I think that makes it kind of special.
Totally. Totally universal. We will all die. And we'll all die differently in our own unique ways. And isn't that beautiful too?
Yes, yes. And so I, again, talking about death, I do have questions about death that I wanted to bring up to you. And
Let it roll.
yes, I'm just kind of looking at it. I saw one that I was like, huh, that's interesting. It was like saying, um, is it? I should just read the list here. Oh, does death give life meaning? Um, or would life have purpose without it? That was one of the questions that I figured we would just get into it.
Mm, yeah. Um, would you like me to provide my answer?
Yes,
My thoughts?
yes.
Well, I think something that's so fun about these questions that have to do with death is that they incite curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And we can answer them for ourselves, but I'm also really curious about what it brings up for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think my instinctual response would be we can't have light without the dark. We can't have life without death.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've got to have these opposites that actually work in tandem together in order to appreciate each, side or each the qualities of each one. Um, I do think that I've worked in oncology, hospice, palliative care, and having that
Mm-hmm.
kind of suffering and not always suffering, but challenges to our thinking, to our ways of being, and to our ways of doing
Mm-hmm.
is a reminder that there's an end.
Mm-hmm.
And I always appreciated that perspective, having worked in those realms as a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And that does make me appreciate the living, the part of aliveness that we all have.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Um, you know, I I feel like I don't know. I feel like without death, um, I don't know. I honestly don't know because I'm tempted to. My brain's going in different directions. Just you have these group of people who are actively trying to avoid it, but um, I don't know. That that just makes me think that they haven't accepted something of it. Like it's not like actively, you go looking for death. It's just gonna get you, and then that'll be it. It's like, why are you trying to fight it? Why are you trying to outlive it or outrun it? I don't know, and I guess the whole point is, to live your life to the fullest while you still have it. So I guess it does give life meaning in that aspect, but I just don't understand the people that think they can outrun it, or at least try to.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting idea trying to outrun death, right?
Hmm.
And I think we can understand why people avoid talking about it or thinking about it because it's terrifying,
Hmm.
right? To think of us like it's so in many ways abstract and final. And depending on our belief system, maybe there's something after, maybe there isn't. But I think what's so interesting is when you get curious about why you avoid it. You
Mm.
meaning why one avoids it. Well, one might be afraid of what happens to my family.
Yeah.
And okay, we understand that. And also, how great. So now we know that one of your values is your family. You love
Hmm.
your family. So what are you going to do with that information today? Okay, maybe someone's afraid that they'll be forgotten
Mm.
after they die. Understandable, right? So then what are you going to do today to impact your legacy?
Hmm.
So these fears we can also get curious about so we can learn about what brings our life meaning or what brings our life value.
Hmm.
So there's always some more digging to do, I think.
Right. What I think it's interesting that you say, "Oh, what about my family?" I I love my family, let me just say that. But the logical part of my brain goes, I mean, they'll be okay cuz they're still around. Well, would they miss me? Sure. But my journey's over. So, I'm just always
Mhm.
the analytical part of my brain is like, I'm done. Like I can't do anything else. It's
Mhm.
over. So
Mhm.
so there.
And great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what's so fascinating about studying death is that there are so many different ways to approach it and believe
Mm.
things about it, different parts of it. Um, and there's always something to learn from those beliefs. I think about what's important to us and how we live our lives. Because if we think, for example, that once I'm done, I'm done,
Hmm.
how does that impact how we live our lives?
Hmm.
And it may not be clear to us now, but maybe over time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always had the mindset of and you ask anybody who knows me, they would say, if like a zombie apocalypse were to happen, I'd be like, I just want to be done. Take me out. I don't want to be around for this. Like I know my place in the world. Just
Hmm.
let me be a decoy while the alphas or whatever get away. I'm just like, I don't want to
I'm
go that.
good.
I don't want to be around for that. So I'm done.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Is saying I'm done a harsh perspective on it?
Like when death is kind of in front of you.
Yeah.
And mm, let me think. Let me ask you just a couple more questions so I
Hmm.
make sure I understand. So when you say, what do you mean by is having that perspective a harsh perspective?
Yeah, because I didn't think the idea of, well, I'm dead now. Okay. I didn't think it was harsh until I said it. So I'm like, oh, is it really
Mm,
like, does it sound like I don't care about the people I'm leaving? Because I mean I
mm,
do, but I can't I can't stop or help that because I'm dead. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's no right or wrong way to look at it. And I
mm,
think if like the perspective of when I'm dead, I'm dead
hmm
is not necessarily harsh. It's just a more perhaps practical way of feeling about it. And then other people might just be totally distraught, thinking like, if I'm gone, what? Like,
yeah,
just totally lost in the emotionality of it. And that's okay too. It's just different ways to feel about it, I
right,
think.
right. Yeah, okay, okay. I was just like, I don't want people to say, oh, you're so harsh about. Well, if somebody comments to me about my perspective on death, I'm gonna be like, oh, thank you for listening, first of all. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, when did you? I don't know if we touched on the subject, but when did you get? I don't know, interested or just about the subject.
Yeah. Well, I do remember I read this book called Life After Life by
Mm,
Raymond Moody in sixth grade. And it was just like near-death experiences,
mm,
basically, people who died and then, quote, came back. And I was just fascinated by it. But otherwise, I think there wasn't like a common thread of death that followed me throughout life. It's more so that I've always been fascinated in like the existential, challenging, difficult questions.
mm-hmm,
And as a nurse, I remember, particularly in oncology, when people receive these really challenging diagnoses that put a lot of what they assumed to be or assumed would last forever in front of them.
mm-hmm,
And, they were questioning mortality, questioning previous behaviors, just everything was coming into question. No one wanted to talk about the hard parts of it. It was like people, I mean, that's a gross generalization, but I
mm-hmm,
would say the majority of patients seemed to be afraid of letting fear creep in or sadness or anger because it was like they didn't want to give too much voice to that.
mm-hmm,
And I noticed over time when I got to know these patients, just asking questions or letting them know that I was there for them to ask questions,
mm-hmm.
people wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
People were afraid of what if this treatment doesn't work? What if I die here in the hospital?
Mm-hmm,
And so I just kind of became curious about that. And then I think I noticed in the hospital that I was not ever interested in participating in like codes,
mm.
getting the crash cart, doing CPR. My emergencies were always, we have someone who's at the end of life and they're in pain. Got it. I'm on it. Like drop everything and go and make this moment count.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think I took a death doula certification program, and I think just looking at the book list was confirmation that death is kind of where I need to sit, where I can ask these big questions, support people through the practical and emotional, and also just really let the science and the mystery be there together.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. I like
Yeah.
how. I mean, I like how you're interested in knowing the bigger questions that. I mean, like, is there an afterlife or anything like that? It's like I can't really answer that because I'm not there yet. So what do you
Mhm.
believe? It's really I love that you're trying to again start a conversation about it. Um because I'm sure you have your own ideas and people tell you their own ideas and it's like, oh, okay. um I don't know, it's fascinating, just this whole conversation, well,
Yeah.
of death, and it's just yeah, I like I said, I feel like it needs to happen more. I don't know, I don't know why people are so afraid of it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, having these conversations more frequently over time, it's like anything that you are afraid of and start to shed some light on. I think it
Hmm
gets easier and easier. And what is really interesting is some people have asked me, "Oh, well, you just talk about this all the time. You must not be afraid of death at all." Not true.
No.
I'm still like there's still totally parts of it I'm afraid of, but I can approach like I've practiced approaching those
Mm.
fears with curiosity and um like you were saying earlier, like if we can't run from it.
Hmm.
So what happens if we just kind of stand where we are and look at it?
Yeah. What aspects are you not, comfortable with it?
Mm, great question. Um, I would say one of them is unfinished business.
Mm. Oh, okay.
I really have tried to kind of tie up loose ends as I go through life, but what are the things that I'm neglecting that will all come to me at the same time on my deathbed?
Yeah.
Um, and I think I'm afraid of the dying process sometimes and
Mm.
of pain. And I know that pain can be very well managed if properly medically, spiritually, emotionally tended to. But I also know that sometimes there's kind of inescapable pain in the process. And so I think about that sometimes.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I. I mean, I'd be lying if I wasn't. If I hadn't thought about how it happens to me, and yeah, of course, everybody wants or I can't assume everybody wants, but like a peaceful kind of thing where you fall asleep and then that's it.
Mm,
And
wonderful.
yeah, that sounds great. Also, like if I'm not in that position, sure, maybe like a straight bullet to the head, like it done. You know,
Mm,
that's how I think. Like just quick, painless. That's how I want one of those kinds of death.
hmm hmm And how interesting, right? Like I think what you're describing is what many people imagine, like this peaceful. I mean, like we see hospice brochures and it's all just like hand
Yeah.
holding on
Yes.
heirloom quilts
Yeah.
and the families gathered around and the sun is
Yes.
shining and sometimes that is how it happens and unfolds. But um to your point, like we can hope for all we want and imagine it in a very particular way, and there's lots that we can control and a lot that we cannot.
Yeah.
Ooh, so we kind of have to get comfortable with that.
Right. Right. Yes. And
Yeah.
you know, do you know how you want your remains to be handled after you leave this
Mm.
this earth?
Yeah, I have thought a lot about this, and I'm not actually sure I've said it out loud, so that's interesting. Um, I would like to be cremated,
Mm. Hmm.
and for lots of reasons, and I love the idea of sending my surviving people on an adventure.
Oh.
So, like going to my favorite places throughout the world so that they can have their own adventures, so
Yeah.
that in a way it's like kind of, yes, maybe honoring me and honoring my remains, but also then giving them the opportunity to experience these beautiful places I've gotten to experience.
I
I
love
love that idea.
I love that too. I are they just going to the places, or are they leaving a piece of you at these locations?
Both.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not so like wedded to the idea of my ashes being in a certain part of
Mm.
the world. But I love the idea of like the ashes being a vehicle for people to live their own lives
Mm. Yeah.
with me kind of sitting on their shoulders.
Hey, come on, let's go.
Yeah, over there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I too would like to be cremated, but you posted something on your Instagram stories long time, a couple, I guess it's a couple months now, that
Mm.
I love. It's a green death or green burial,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
for like so you get buried in three in like in a 3 feet of a hole, I guess, just so that your nutrients and body can be fed to nature and stuff like that, and then you become, I don't know, I don't want to say compost, but you become compost.
Totally.
And I love that idea, but I was watching the video. The woman was in her backyard. I'm like, are there like plots that I of like green I don't know, like I don't know where it would be kind of funny or suspicious if I'm buried in the backyard and it's just like
Totally.
uh well, he wanted it
Totally.
though. He wanted it.
Totally. No, there are lots of regulations
Mm,
about where you can do it. And there are more and more, I think, throughout the country, popping up cemeteries that are like green burial
hmm.
cemeteries. Um, and for lots of reasons. And one of them is, yeah, like you can't just bury a human in the backyard.
Right.
Um,
You have the one
but
creep who's like, I've been doing it for years now. It's like,
right,
oh
right.
geez. Well,
Raising all kinds of
we
questions
need to
over here.
arrest that person right now. Uh,
Right. But there is a very beautiful idea, and I think particularly like with climate change and the
mhm,
recognition that burial plots, the cost are just is just skyrocketing.
mhm,
To have a little piece of land that isn't being used in our society is just like,
mhm.
well, it's got to cost a ton of money. So the idea of like giving back to the land or not continuing to use even after death, I think is becoming more appealing to people.
Yeah.
Um, but it is, my understanding is that at this moment, it can be as expensive or not, if not more, than other types of burial, just because it's kind of in it more of its infancy, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
I can't say that with total certainty, but I think like many things, being thoughtful about what we do can sometimes be more costly.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm just kind of, I mean, again, I think it sounds like a wonderful idea. Hopefully, by the time I'm ready to go, it's been thought through a little bit more and it's more,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever be accepted. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I could see, I feel weird stepping on grave plots as it is when somebody's, I don't know how deep they're buried, but um, I can see myself like being like very weirded out, like literally 3 feet right there. They're
Mm.
so stay off the land,
And what do you think? What do you think about that? What do you think about that kind of creeps you out?
I feel like it's more of a respect thing where okay,
Mhm.
like you walk of course I don't know the parameters of where the dimensions on where people are buried, but still I'm like let's have some respect unless we're uh, like putting down flowers or something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's all about like come on, let's not walk all over this person because we were visiting
Mhm.
my grandparents who passed away a couple of years ago, and while we were at their grave plot and their gravestone, somebody came up next to us who was next. They were next to us, and that's when I was like, "Come on, get off that." It was like, let's have some respect for
Uh-huh.
them. So I'm just like, it
Uh-huh.
does happen, where
Hmm.
the you might think it's I'm just walking here, and I don't mean you, but the
Mm.
general the royal you are just walking, and like people could see that as disrespectful. So yeah, I just don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that again, there's just something we can learn about you, right? Like there's something in you that honors the sacred presence of one whose essence is there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my words, not yours.
Yeah.
Um, but say what we might. we can like I've heard some people be fairly flippant about the dead as well, and there's still that feeling of like, oh, this is where they sat or this is where they lie. And there is, I think, something like an innate recognition
Yeah.
to honor what was and who was.
Yes. Yes. And so, I mean, not to flip or change the subject or anything. Um,
Mm.
I'm curious. When we do move on, do you think that we leave an energy um, on as we go, whether it's like in our deathbed or places that we've been around, a house, I don't know. And I'm not saying it's something supernatural, it's just an
Mhm.
energy that we leave.
Mm. Really good question. I know I've thought so much about this before, and I think that there's so much that can't be explained. So my short
Mm.
answer is yes.
Hmm.
Um, and the specifics surrounding that, I haven't quite kind of worked out, but I do feel like my belief is that when we die, we become part of like a greater consciousness.
Hmm.
And yet part of us is still remains.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I don't know if you've had any experiences like this, but if you are in a graveyard or in an old house or visiting a place where a life once was very vibrant and now is no longer,
Hmm.
it feels different. Like I feel like the energy is different, and I fully believe that there's something to that, without it being like, kind of like straddling both science and the woo-woo.
Mm.
You know, I'm comfortable with both,
Yeah.
and I appreciate both. And so I think for the longer answer of my yes, yes, I believe that like there's kind of an essence that's left behind
Mm.
for those who are open to experiencing it.
So, I mean, I don't want to get all romantic, but I heard that there's a possibility that we become part of a star or something. I don't know if that's true. I saw it in a
Mm,
movie and I
mhm.
was like, "Yay, that's pretty. I like stars. I'd like to be one." Just I just think that's I feel like that's all of the same thing that we leave behind.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't know either if we
Yeah,
become stars, but
I don't know.
I also love the idea.
Right? It's just like, "Oh, okay." Um yeah, I don't yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
again,
mean, I
no,
sorry.
no, just questions that we can't answer.
Mm-mm. Yeah. And how cool.
Yeah.
Um, I also, I think it's so like human centric to think that this is it.
Hmm.
Like I just feel like there's such greatness out there.
Hmm.
And it's the universe is like so vast, and we are these tiny little blips, these tiny little blue on a tiny little blue dot.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that perspective of kind of zooming out and seeing both our significance and insignificance all at once, like we become part of the stars, we are a star, all that kind of language.
I become a
Um,
tree.
yes, why not?
Yeah.
Right?
Um,
Yes.
yeah. See, no, I've like I said, I've always wanted to be, given back to the world as some sort of nutrient. And
Mm,
I don't know if this is true, but I heard, that there are ways to be, I don't know, planted with a tree, and just like I don't know if I'm making that up, but I feel like I heard it.
yeah.
So I'm just like, I love that idea. Why not?
Totally. Yeah, there's like this, I think right now there's place in Italy that does it,
Mm.
but you can like be buried in this certain like a capsule
Mm.
that helps the decomposition process. And yeah, like you can kind of your nutrients help keep life going.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I just want, you know, I just want to have a purpose in death that it's like, oh, okay, he's still doing okay. He's still helping us out. Um, my again subject change, but not really. My friend he passed away, and he was younger than me, and
Mm.
I don't in I don't know if there was a will or anything, but he was super into vinyl records, so they put his ashes in a record and that exists. And my buddy
Wow.
got like I don't know if he put songs on there or songs and like his voice of, you know, because we're film people, so you know there's footage of him somewhere. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and it's all on this record, so that he's a part of. And I just think it's cool
Wow.
to just I don't know, become something else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about your friend, and what a personal
Hmm.
way to be remembered
Yeah,
and honored.
I'm
That
I,
is so
I'm
cool.
gonna be really mad if it didn't happen. I'm like 99.9% positive that they did that, but now I'm
Yeah.
just questioning my friend. Was he blowing smoke up my butt? But yeah, no, and that was him. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to be a record, please. And
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Well, I do know that ashes can become a part of many things.
Mm.
So I'll believe it. How about that?
Okay, okay.
I support your 99.9%.
Thank you. And so, you know, I'm just because you do a lot with, you know, with death, but also getting people ready for said event. Do you think grief can reshape who we are, or having
Mm.
that realization of death?
Mm.
I know it's kind of
Yeah,
two different things, but
right. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll focus a little more on the grief
mhm,
part first. And I think um grief is our experience of loss.
mm,
And so frequently I think grief we believe, or the message is that grief can only really happen when somebody dies.
mhm,
But we're constantly losing things and parts of us all the time.
yeah,
When we move to a different state,
yep, yep,
that's a loss. And no matter what shiny things are in this new state, there's still a loss of what you were familiar with. And so there's grief in these big changes. And I think that absolutely shapes how we move forward. Do we like change is the only constant,
mm,
right? So our relationship to change impacts how we grieve.
mhm,
If we think that everything's going to stay the same our whole lives and then we're totally taken off guard, or caught off guard when something changes or we lose something,
mhm,
then that's a very different experience than if we understand that change is constantly happening.
yeah,
Um, and I think then our experience with grief can be so vivid that our mortality is kind of comes up in that experience when we lose someone, or even a thing, if we move, lose a job, something like that.
mhm,
Um, Mortality can creep up in there. And so that can impact how we live as well. So it's all, I think, perspective shifting
mm.
potentially.
And have you ever dealt
Yeah.
with somebody who I don't like they needed to come to term like is it better to come to terms with this grief and I don't know accept it or you know whatever to move on, or is it just like, well, it'll still it's there, it'll be there, and then you just won't ever deal with it?
Agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great question. I think that because grief is something that's just like death. It's pretty taboo,
Hmm.
so we don't talk about it much.
Right. Yes.
And I think as a society and culture, we have such a narrow frame of what is acceptable in
Hmm.
terms of grieving, and so we think like, all right, it's been 6 weeks, hurry it up, man.
Right.
Like, don't want to hear it anymore. Move on. So I think what's important to remember about grief is that it looks different for everyone and feels different for everyone. Some people find support in the doing and the tasks
Mm.
and action and kind of channeling grief through the physical. And some people feel grief more like the kind of grief energy is more emotional.
Yeah.
Um, we go back and forth. Um, so I think it can take all different shapes. And recently, in the DSM for psychological disorders, there's now a diagnosis for prolonged grief disorder.
Oh.
And there's some controversy about that, but the acknowledgement is that sometimes grief, we can get kind of stuck in a grief cycle.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really tricky because we don't want to pathologize missing someone very painfully for years and years to come. And I know someone who, when I first met her, she talked about having lost her husband.
Hmm.
And the way she was talking about him, it sounded like she had lost him in the previous year. And it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that, right? Because she's still able to move about her life, but
Hmm.
just misses him so deeply.
Yeah. She has
I'm
this
not quite sure
thing.
if that answered your question.
She has this thing that she's going to carry around.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
so she's like integrated the loss into her
Yeah.
life.
Which I wonder if that's taxing.
Yeah, I think reconstructing the world, this new world without this person,
Hmm.
is a lot of work.
Yeah.
There are different approaches to grief, but one is considered like a task approach.
Hmm.
And I love the acknowledgement that working through grief is can include tasks. It's hard work.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might be taxing for many, I
I
think.
I I have this thing where yes, if I'm busy working, I'm like okay, but the minute I have time to not do anything and I'm just left with my own thoughts, it's just like, ugh, okay, and that's when it hits me. I'm like
Mm.
okay, whatever. And then
Mhm.
yeah, it's almost like I need something to do. But then we were again talking earlier. I'm lazy, so it's just like meh, I'll do it later. Oh no, I should have done it now.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's like lot of things to maneuver, and even that kind of gets tiring.
Totally. Totally. I think grief can be and loss can be just totally exhausting.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can experience it physically as well, but it's easy to be lazy about it when it's hard,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Painful.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. But for the people at home who would like to keep up with everything that you're doing, online, or just I don't know. I don't know if you want people reaching out or anything like that. Where can they do all that?
Yeah, thank you. I think at the moment the best way is to follow me on Instagram. I'm life at sunset underscore Maggie. Um, I've been a little bit less active. I'm working on my master's in thanatology,
Mm.
which is the study of death, dying, and bereavement. So, um, there's more incoming information in my world right now than outgoing information. But um, I'm just so interested in getting the conversation started. So my website is lifeatsunset.com, and every once in a while I'm offering like classes where
Hmm.
people who are really interested in investing time and emotional energy can spend multiple weeks with the same groups of people investigating certain topics. And um, at some point, I'll be starting like a blog. I don't know if people do that anymore, but I want to do that with just different ways to get people thinking. So, um, lots of different ways to engage.
Yeah, like I said,
Thank you.
you're doing the hard work. You know, just trying to get people to open up and talk about what could be a difficult subject. I don't know. When we first talked about it, I'm not. No subject is difficult for me to talk about. I just find it more
Yeah.
interesting because, you know what? Nobody's ever asked me about death. Okay. Um,
Mhm.
so I think what you're doing is wonderful, and I think you're wonderful.
Thanks.
And
Likewise.
oh no. But do you think we've wasted a perfectly good amount of time talking about this? I mean,
I do.
I know we can probably waste more, but
All the time in the world. Yes. We could. We could.
this will be the never-ending podcast if that was the case. But no, Maggie, thank you so much for being here, being a friend, and just being so wonderful to talk to.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. As you know, I love talking about this, and thanks to your listeners too.
Of course, of course. But I'll let you go, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. Okay,
You too, Chris.
and keep staying safe and healthy. I should say.
Thank you. You too.
Of course.